Well, thanks to Nancy Pelosi, the phrase cover-up dominated cable news today. Watch.
Nancy Pelosi describes President Trump as being engaged in a cover-up. One of the things that she said is that the Trump administration is engaged in a cover-up.
She said President Trump is engaged in a cover-up.
Comments Pelosi had made this morning that the president had engaged in a cover-up.
She accused the president of engaging in a cover-up.
The president complaining to the Speaker of the House that she accused him of a cover-up.
That phrase, cover-up, from Nancy Pelosi really set him off.
Over at MSNBC, one anchor accused the president of a cover-up for refusing to publicize his private life.
When you talk about, I don't do cover-ups, there's also the fact that he has been refusing to let his current and former aides testify, refusing to turn over documents that have been demanded, including the tax returns, also refusing to grant an interview to Robert Mueller.
Joe Concha watches an awful lot of television. He writes about media for The Hill, and he joins us tonight. Joe, is it my imagination, or did once again the Speaker of the House deliver the talking point that everyone in cable news eagerly took up and repeated?
I think you're seeing a pattern here, Tucker. I remember back in January, the term manufactured crisis was used to talk about what was going on at the U.S. southern border. And then you heard over and over, dozens upon dozens of times, and not just from one network, but different networks, different anchors or pundits or guests using that same exact term to the word manufactured crisis. Now, sure enough, as we know, and even the New York Times admits, it's no longer a manufactured crisis at the border. That's a real thing. Story for another time. And then we had the other crisis, which was the constitutional crisis. And that was 2 weeks ago when Bill Barr, after he testified in front of the Senate, decided not to do so with the House when they changed the rules around as far as staffers being able to question him, which had never happened in Congress before. And he said, this is going to be a circus. No, thanks. I'm not going to show up. So that became a constitutional crisis. And Pelosi says that as well. And sure enough, the Media Research Center, and I get they're conservative, but the numbers here are usually accurate, they found that between May 8th and May 12th, that on ABC, CBS, NBC, CNN, and MSNBC, that exact term, constitutional crisis, was uttered 386 times. I'm not very good at math, but I'm pretty sure that's more than 70 times if you average it out per network. So yeah, it goes out one mouth, it comes out another mouth, and now here we are with cover-up, and that will be the next new constitutional crisis as far as terms that we hear over and over again, as if it's an echo chamber.
We're entering campaign season. There's a presidential campaign in progress already. At some point, these are campaign finance violations. These are television networks donating to presidential campaigns to a party and not declaring it.
That would be very interesting to see that case be made, perhaps. But no, it just seems to be that people are taking their cues from one party in this business and not the other, particularly from Pelosi. And look, I wanted to hear some reporters yell at her the way that Trump is yelled at. What cover-up are you specifically talking about? Who's involved in this cover-up? Is Bob Mueller involved in this cover-up? Because he's been reluctant to testify to this point. So is he also part of the cover-up that now includes, I believe, Bill Barr, Don McGahn, Cato Kalin, the White House chef? I mean, who else is involved in this deep conspiracy of people who otherwise probably don't like the president that much, but are willing to put their careers on the line to cover up for him? It's quite comical on some level, actually.
It is kind of amazing. I hope we get to the bottom of it. I know there are Russians there somewhere. Joe, thank you.
Good to see you.